My grandfather's nurse found a second will taped under his hospital bed 3 hours after he died, and it named a granddaughter none of us had ever heard of. I got the call from my Aunt Priya at 6 a.m. Grandpa Suresh was gone, heart failure, peaceful in his sleep at the care home. I flew back for the funeral, sat between my father and my uncle Anand, and listened to the priest talk about a man who'd built a textile business from nothing. I thought that was the hardest part of the week. I was wrong. 4 days later, the family lawyer called an emergency meeting. He said the nurse who'd been with Grandpa in his final months had found an envelope taped to the underside of his hospital bed frame while cleaning out the room. Inside was a handwritten will, dated 8 months before he died, notarized, legally valid. It revoked the will we all knew about. It left the family home and the business shares not to my father, not to Anand, not split among the 6 of us grandchildren, but to a woman named Mira Fernandez, age 26. Address in Goa. No one in that room had ever heard the name. My father went white. Anand demanded to see the document. The lawyer slid it across the table, and there, at the bottom, was a paragraph that changed everything. To my daughter Mira, born to Lucia Fernandez in 1998, whom I was never permitted to acknowledge while my wife lived, and whom I failed for 26 years. This is not enough, but it is what I have. My grandmother had been dead 6 years. My grandfather had waited until she was gone to even write this down, and then he'd hidden it under a hospital bed like he was still afraid of being caught. My father found Mira's number through the lawyer within a week. I was in the room when he called her, speaker on, hands shaking. She picked up on the second ring. She already knew. The lawyer had reached her first. She said she hadn't asked for any of it, that she'd grown up believing her father was a merchant sailor who died at sea, that her mother had only told her the truth on her own deathbed 2 years ago, along with a photograph and a name, Suresh Patel. She said she'd written him one letter. He never answered it. She assumed he wanted nothing to do with her. She didn't know he'd kept the letter in his wallet until the nurse found that too, folded soft as cloth, tucked behind his ID card. Anand didn't care about any of it. He hired a solicitor within days to contest the will, arguing our grandfather wasn't mentally sound in his final year, citing medication logs and a single confused episode the nurse had documented in March. He needed the second will thrown out. My father, to my surprise, didn't join him. He sat at his own kitchen table and said something I haven't stopped thinking about. I spent 40 years angry at a man for a marriage I don't understand. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life angry at a woman for existing. The contest went to court. Mira showed up alone, in a borrowed black coat, and read her father's letter into the record because the judge asked her to. Her voice didn't shake, but her hands did. She said she wasn't there for the house. She said she'd have traded every rupee of it for one conversation with him while he was alive, and that the money just felt like a man trying to apologize to a wall after the person on the other side had already left the room. The judge upheld the will. Mira inherited the house and the shares. Anand hasn't spoken to my father since, and skipped my cousin's wedding rather than sit at the same table as either of us. I visited Mira in Goa last spring. She still hasn't sold the house. She says she doesn't know if she wants it, that walking through rooms full of a childhood that wasn't hers feels like trespassing in reverse. She keeps the letter he never answered in the same drawer as the one he kept in his wallet, side by side now, 30 years too late to matter, and somehow the only thing either of them left behind that was honest. I don't know if my grandfather was a coward or just a frightened man who ran out of time to be brave. I know he chose silence for 26 years and called it protecting his family, when it mostly just protected himself. Some nights I think Mira deserves every brick of that house. Other nights I think about my grandmother, dead before she ever got the chance to be angry, and I'm not sure anymore who the second will was really written for.